Hey there, I'm Shay Blackmon, and welcome back to Unlock, Empower, Transform. This is episode 46, and if you're tuning in on this Tuesday, you're exactly where you need to be. Today, we're talking about something that honestly keeps me up at night. Not because it's scary, but because I see so many talented HR leaders running themselves ragged, putting out fires that didn't need to happen in the first place. We're diving into the shift from reactive to predictive HR and why your competitors are already playing a different game. Let's get into it. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Most HR departments are still operating like it's 2005. You know what I'm talking about. Someone quits unexpectedly and everyone scrambles. A manager complains about engagement and you're pulling together a survey that should have been done 3 months ago. Performance reviews roll around and surprise, half your team is unhappy. This is firefighting. And let me be clear, you're not firefighting because you're bad at your job. You're firefighting because the old operating model was designed for firefighting. But while you're responding to yesterday's problems, your competitors, they're preventing tomorrow's. They're using predictive analytics to spot turnover risk 6 months out. They're identifying engagement issues before they become exodus events. They're building cultures where problems surface early, not after they've metastasized. I was talking with a manufacturing company recently. Not naming names, but they lost their entire quality control team in a 6-week period. 6 weeks. And nobody saw it coming. Except when we looked at the data, every single warning sign was there. Declining engagement scores, increased sick days, shorter tenure in meetings. The signs were screaming, but nobody was listening because they didn't have the systems to hear it. That's $250,000 in recruiting, onboarding, and lost productivity gone because they were reacting instead of predicting. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Shay, that sounds great, but I barely have time to process payroll, let alone build some fancy analytics system. I hear you, and that's exactly the problem. The firefighting model keeps you so busy that you can't invest in prevention. It's a vicious cycle. But here's what I want you to understand. You don't need more time to build a predictive capability. You need a predictive capability to get more time. All right, let's get practical because I don't believe in theory without application, and you don't have time for concepts that don't convert to real change. Most people hear people analytics and think they need a data science PhD and a 6-figure software budget. Wrong. What you need is clarity about what you're trying to predict and why. Start with your pain. Where does firefighting hurt the most? Is it turnover? Is it performance issues that come out of nowhere? Is it toxic behavior that festers until it explodes? Pick one, just one. Let's say it's turnover. You want to predict who's going to leave before they hand you that resignation letter. Here's your starting point. You already have the data. You just don't know you have it. Look at your last 10 departures. Pull their files. What patterns do you see? Were they passed over for promotions? Did they have a manager change 6 months before leaving? Were they consistently working overtime? Did engagement scores drop? Were they excluded from key projects? Now, this is the part where I wish I could say there's some magic algorithm. There isn't. What there is pattern recognition. And as a DBA candidate studying organizational leadership, I can tell you the research backs this up. Most turnover follows predictable paths. You don't need sophisticated AI on day one. You need a simple tracking system. A spreadsheet works. Track engagement pulse data. Track one-on-one's completion. Track time since last development conversation. Track manager changes. Track workload indicators. Then set thresholds. If someone's engagement score drops 20% quarter over quarter, flag it. If someone hasn't had a development conversation in 4 months, flag it. If someone's working 50 plus hours a week for more than a month, flag it. This isn't rocket science. It's systematic attention. And systematic attention is what transforms reactive departments into predictive powerhouses. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Once you start tracking, you start intervening. And this is where CBC's methodology comes in. At Shea Blackmon Consulting, we call this the prevention overreaction methodology. It's built on a simple premise. Every crisis you respond to today is a pattern you failed to predict yesterday. Our approach has 3 layers. Think of it like the SHIELD framework we talk about in the SHIELD Resilience Strategy Guide. First layer, detection. Second layer, intervention. Third layer, systematic prevention. Detection is what we just talked about. You're tracking leading indicators, not lagging ones. Lagging indicators tell you what already happened. Leading indicators tell you what's about to happen. That's the difference between an exit interview and an early warning system. Intervention is where most organizations drop the ball. They spot the problem but don't act on it, or they act too late, or they act in ways that make it worse. There was a healthcare organization that saw engagement dropping across their nursing staff. They knew something was wrong. Their intervention? A pizza party. I'm not kidding. A pizza party for nurses pulling double shifts in a pandemic. Predictive intervention means matching the response to the root cause. If someone's engagement drops because they feel undervalued, they don't need pizza. They need recognition systems, career pathing, and manager training. If someone's burning out from workload, they don't need a wellness app. They need workload rebalancing or additional resources. The SHIELD Resilience Strategy Guide walks through this intervention mapping in detail. It shows you how to connect early warning signals to appropriate responses. Because detection without intervention is just expensive monitoring. Systematic prevention is the end game. This is where you move beyond individual interventions to cultural transformation. You build systems that prevent problems from emerging in the first place. Let me give you an example. One company I work with used to have chronic manager-employee relationship issues. Toxic managers, disengaged teams, high turnover. They could predict which teams were going to have problems. But prediction isn't prevention. So we built systematic prevention into their operating model. New manager onboarding now includes intensive leadership development. Every manager has quarterly 360 feedback. Every employee has structured skip-level conversations. High performers have proactive career conversations every quarter, not annually. Result? Turnover in previously problematic teams dropped 60% year over year. Not because they got better at reacting, but because they eliminated the conditions that created the problems. That's the power of moving from reactive to predictive. You're not just solving problems faster, you're solving them before they exist. And this is exactly what we cover in depth in my book, High Value Leadership: Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture. Because building a predictive HR capability isn't just about the data and systems. It's about leadership transformation. It's about shifting from reactive heroes to proactive architects. All right, let's get you started today. I promised actionable, so here's your quick exercise. I call it the Predictive Audit. Grab a pen. You're going to spend 20 minutes on this, maximum. Step 1. List your 3 biggest HR crises from the last year. Be specific, not turnover was high. More like lost senior engineer in Q2, project delayed 6 months. Step 2. For each crisis, ask, what signals existed 3 to 6 months before? Write them down. Declining engagement? Manager complaints? Increased time off? Withdrawal from meetings? You're looking for patterns that were visible in hindsight. Step 3. Identify which of those signals you currently track systematically. Be honest. If you're not tracking it in a structured way, it doesn't count. Step 4. Pick one signal to start tracking this week. Not 5. 1. Maybe it's quarterly engagement pulse scores. Maybe it's manager one-on-one completion rates. Maybe it's time to fill for key roles. Step 5. Define your threshold. At what point does this signal become a red flag? Write it down. Make it specific. If engagement drops 15% or more quarter over quarter, is specific. If things seem bad, is not. That's it. 5 steps, 20 minutes. You now have the foundation of a predictive system. And here's why this exercise matters. It forces you to shift from hindsight to foresight. Most HR leaders can tell you exactly why someone quit after they're gone. Predictive leaders can tell you who's thinking about quitting right now. That difference? That's competitive advantage. That's the future of HR. That's what we're building with the high-value leadership intensive course that's launching soon. Look, I know change is hard. I know you're already stretched thin. I know you didn't sign up for HR to become a data analyst. But here's what I also know. The organizations winning right now aren't the ones with bigger budgets or fancier tools. They're the ones who stopped reacting and started predicting. They're the ones who built cultures where problems surface early and get solved fast. You can be one of those organizations. You can build a predictive HR capability that transforms your business. And you can start today with that 20-minute exercise. If you want to go deeper, grab the Shield Resilience Strategy Guide. It's free, it's practical, it walks you through the complete prevention framework we use at CBC Consulting. Download it at the link in the show notes. And while you're there, drop a comment. Tell me what signals you're going to start tracking. I read every single one. And if you want the comprehensive methodology, grab High Value Leadership, Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture. Because predictive HR isn't just about systems, it's about leadership. It's about building organizations that thrive instead of just survive. Join me back here on Thursday for episode 47, where we're talking about the trust deficit and building psychological safety in AI transformation. Because you can have all the predictive analytics in the world, but if your people don't trust the process, you've got nothing. Until then, stop firefighting, start predicting, and remember, transformation isn't about doing more, it's about doing different. This is Blackmon. Stay intentional.